Hello, people, and welcome back to an episode of the USL Show. We are back, and I am back. I am no longer dead, but as it appears, everybody else is. No, everybody else is alive. Everybody's healthy. Everybody's good. But we have a new friend down, like right there, and that's Miss Danielle from Protagonist Women's and from the Super Show. Danielle, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing? I'm absorbing so much women's soccer that we had this weekend and living on the edge of my Dallas Trinity and what what's going to happen with them.
Yeah, we'll get into that in just a little bit. Very excited to chat. Ryan, how are you?
I'm doing well and glad that you're feeling better after last week.
Yeah, there is not a non-zero chance that me wearing the cat costume is what caused it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out my socials. I did have to wear a cat costume because I love the kids and I'm trying to raise money for the library. And let me tell you, though, at one point I said that I was going to wear the Kelpie costume out of Monterey Bay after wearing the cat costume in 80-degree. No, it's way too hot.
Better than that is the old San Antonio Scorpions mascot, which we're told it's supposed to be a scorpion, but it really just looks like the poo emoji. So it could be way worse.
I love that. Oh my gosh. Well, before we get too far into it, we have to thank our wonderful, amazing patrons: Willow and Sandy Lester, Ryan Smelter, Matt Capiel, Timothy Meadows, Andrew Towsley, All the Hedgehog, Kunal Patel, MOS, NF Resh 30, Tim Nosh, Rion Lacara, Stephen Howard, Jeremy Churchman, Alberto Aguilar, Noah Telfer, Michael Fuchs, Joshua Duder, John Floor, Christopher Cohn, Frank Anthony, John Hunt, and Harry Austin. Thank you so much for supporting us. And I didn't get a chance to thank you all for liking and subscribing and getting us to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Thank you so much. Your ad revenue has gained us about $4. Awesome. We cannot thank you enough for those $4. But seriously, it means the world to us. And it's just showing how strong the USL community is growing and how great you guys are. Thank you so much. Let's dive into the biggest news, and it is out of Loudoun County. And it is not their really nice 2-0 win that they got over the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, where they once again just continue to be the best team in the league on the pitch, but off the pitch, it's not as good. And somebody has to make sure I say this right. Pablo Maurer released an article on The Athletic where he kind of outlines everything kind of going wrong off the pitch, and we'll hit into some specifics. But here's what you need to know, and this was obviously confirmed by Loudoun. This part is where Loudoun United and Virginia Revolution are merging, and they are trying to become this big Virginia mecca, essentially. Well, the players are saying that they are having to watch their own kits. Like, the locker room situation is horrible. The pitch is borderline unplayable. They have said that they are prepared at any given time for a game to be called off due to poor pitch conditions. They even considered not playing their following match after the Birmingham match, but they kind of talked through it and decided to. And the big quotes that everybody saw, and it was definitely crazy. And it's an anonymous source within the locker room. Ownership, in my words, it's F the owners, other word used. All we have is us at this point, and who knows how long we have left together. And that is a good point, because the sporting director, Oliver Gage, has been sacked. He is no longer on the website. This was not posted publicly. They did not thank him for anything. He has been sacked without any kind of severance, as far as we know. And that's what's going on in Loudoun. When everything is going well on the pitch, it is awful off of it. I don't know who wants to go first, but have at it.
Welcome to international women's soccer is what that sounds like to me. Argentina women making their own bologna sandwiches because they don't get enough per diem. But it's really sad that in the U.S. as a country that there's just not even investment in a washer and dryer or someone to help, because we're one of the richest countries in the world. Where are the sponsors?
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially in what we've seen with outside of USO in announcing pro rel and having all these ambitions to still have these debacles within ownership groups kind of just exist within the league is not really a good look for a league that is at least trying to say they have ambition to be Division One league. Like, this is a team who would be presumably playing Division One soccer come 27 or 2027. And the fact that it's still doing stuff that they, as it was quoted in the article, is out of the movie Major League is just really a really poor business practice. And like, all credit to the players who are still there, to Ryan Martin for keeping the performances on the pitch very high. I mean, they're currently atop the USL Eastern Conference and the league at the moment. But yeah, this has just been a very a really unnecessary bad look for the championship.
I think it's also really bad when you have that on one hand, and then the USL is releasing this great investment news. It almost seems like, which do you want to be talking about? Because we should be talking about these amazing wins for the USL, and instead we're talking about things that should have been solved 10, 15, 20 years ago. And I guess my one question, because I wasn't able to read this article, full disclosure, where is the players union in this? And usually they have that role of being able to advocate and come together for players, especially for a team, because we also know retaliation is a real thing. So if you are that one voice who's identified, you don't want to lose your pro career over standing up for yourself. But the players union should be also one to advocate significantly, because a poor pitch is going to affect all of the teams who go to play there. And I don't think anyone wants, one of their star players injured because of a poor field.
Now, this is full transparency from me. I have not talked to anybody at the USLPA, and nobody from the USLPA was quoted in Pablo's article. That said, this is a situation where I'm not sure how much this gets into what the PA can actually do. The amount of times I've read this CBA is actually kind of crazy. And as far as I understand, they can put pressure on, but as long as the pitch is playable, it's out of the scope of the CBA. And I'm going to try to pull it up, and I have it saved on my computer because, again, I go to this thing way too much. But the general reason, or the general gist, is that Loudoun hasn't broken any rules within their contract unless there's other things not stated in this article. Everything by the contract and by everything else, they haven't done anything wrong. Now, when we talk about workplace conditions, which is what the USLPA is here for, they are here for workplace conditions to be upheld to the highest standard. And Danielle, I think this is where we're going to have interesting conversation, because, and I've talked about this a lot, and I keep bringing this up with ProRel. The CBA is running out this year for the championship. It's about to be done. There is about to be some kind of conversations between the league and the championship. Is that going to run through ProRel? Is that going to run right before? What's going to happen? Right? And situations like this are going to have to be discussed by the players. They're going to have to raise the standard of pitches, both on the field, off the field. They're going to have to raise the standard of locker rooms. They can't be just storage containers anymore. Loudoun's not the only storage container locker room. They're not the only ones.
I think, guess what's going to be in the next CBA? USL Championship should have simple things like a kit man, a kit room, laundry, and you just need someone part-time to come in at 6:00 at night, throw everything in, wash, dry. I mean, that's not even like we're talking a full-time position. That's a few days a week because we know they're on the road, So also, as we're talking about, we need to talk about the World Cup coming in 2026. And I know, for example, I know SAFC was one of the potential headquarter locations, not host city, but for like the teams, their base camp. Those are things that we need to consider as well, and we need to take into account of, are these going to be standards? What are people going to see? Is this what we want representing our country? And it's sad that the players have to be the ones who are talking about this and bringing it forward, when as an owner, you should be wanting to have the best pitch. You should want it to look incredible and amazing, and you should be the one taking pride in it, and it shouldn't be the players. See, sometimes I feel like people just buy a team to like sit on it as an investment, kind of like with stocks. Like, hey, I'm just gonna buy this. I'm gonna sit on it. It's gonna get better, but I'm gonna put zero effort into it. And then I'll sell it when we go pro rel, and I'll make some money on selling it to someone else. Sometimes that's how I feel about some of these teams.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, Ryan, to cut you off, but just to hit that point really fast, that's 100% what happens, because buying into the USL, which Backfield had a wonderful article on expansion cost, which was great. It was not a John Morsey banger, but it was very, very good. And it talks about what it costs to run a team, right? And what it costs the first year. Just the expansion cost alone, and if someone could pull it up for me, because I don't have it up here because I wasn't thinking this conversation would go here, but I'm glad it did. The expansion cost immediately becomes net worth. It's not liquid money. They don't have that money, but that is a part of their net worth. Buying into the USL Championship raises your net worth by $30 million. And when you're doing business, that extra 30, that extra 0 is everything, right? That is what we're looking at, which is why when we get to Gainbridge in just a minute, when we have these conversations of we're bringing money into the league, guess what? That's a little bit more net worth for the owners, a little bit more net worth for the owners. It's 100% a power play of I want to buy in, mainly because I like sports. Sports are cool. Everybody wants to own a sports team, and my net worth goes up.
And to share some of the information that I had found from the Backfield article, which was written by Colton Corshi, who's very good with this article. Like for the USL Championship, if you include the on-field and off-field stuff and running it in year one, and like just to get the team off the ground, at the high end, that's going to be roughly around 29 million. At the low end, that's going to be around 24 million. And then excluding year one, that would drop to about 8 million and 3.7 million if you're running it at kind of a high end and low end. And that's just in the championship. You can still find very pricey, just kind of costs for running a League One team, for running a Super League team as well. And even then with this Loudoun situation, it reminds me a little bit of Northern Colorado that we saw from USL 1 last year. And the fact that in back-to-back seasons, USL has to deal with a team that isn't upholding their standards of play, their standards of treating their players adequately, is just not a good look. And honestly, it's more negotiating power for the players in this next CBA agreement to kind of come in and say, hey, these clubs aren't upholding these standards and we deserve a lot better.
Yeah, and I want to just kind of bring up Carson's kind of comment in the chat. where if you're podcast only, just kind of listen to me real fast. Worked at the front office at Loudoun 2021 to 2023. It was a struggle working under DC United. What I can say is that the people that worked for the team in the front office and team operations worked hard. It does suck because the players in front office and coaching staff deserve better. And yeah, here's the thing. When we talk about Loudoun and what's going on, the players are not a part of this conversation. The coaching staff's not a part of this conversation. In fact, when you look at Oliver Gage, who again is without a job after building a first place team in the USL Championship, I want people to really get that through their brain right now, that the higher ups at Loudoun United chose to get rid of Oliver Gage, who created a team on a bare minimum staff. I think they said that 8 players were on minimum wage contracts this year. He built a minimum wage staff, a minimum wage team, and have them at the top of the East. That has Charleston, that has Louisville, that has Detroit City, that has a lot of teams, Rhode Island, that has a lot of teams that have spent and spent and spent and spent. And he moneyballed this team into being the best, and he gets fired for it without severance. We're not talking about the coaches or the front office themselves, the people who are trying to just survive. We're not talking about the players. Just ownership itself. Talk about not being able to see forest through the trees. Can somebody, Ryan or Danielle, I do believe it mentions in here that one of the people that they are trying to bring in is the head coach from DC Power, and as their new sporting director, or at least be a part of this front office. And if I'm wrong on this, please just correct me as soon as you can. If you've watched DC Power, why?
There's someone
They're awful.
who didn't do well in the league and was the first coach fired in Super League. I don't think that's a good recommendation to move to a higher position. And it just seemed like they didn't have a plan, and you had talented people and people who had professional experience who left the club at the break because there's clearly something going on that they did not want to be there, when you should have the same fields and exposure that DC United does when you're hired by them. So I'm sure he's a great assistant coach, but it seems to me from what I've seen, he probably needs some time underneath a top tier manager for another year or two before going on his own.
So now we kind of got the Loudoun bit out of our system. Does anybody have any final thoughts on this particular subject?
I wish we didn't have to talk about this at all. I'd rather talk about the soccer.
Yes, you and me both. Well, let's go ahead, and I want to do just a little transition to the soccer, because hey, this week starts the Jägermeister Cup with the championship in it. Last year, the defending champions of NOCO, Northern Colorado Hellstorm, no longer in the league. Boy, we sure can't stop talking about landmines today, can we? And we are having championship versus League One, and it's really exciting. We're going to see a lot of fun matchups that you don't get to see outside of the US Open Cup, which is a blast. I'm trying to remember the division. I think it's Division 5 that has Detroit City, Westchester, Hearts of Pine, Rhode Island, and Hartford, and all those teams that at Pittsburgh. That division's going to feed families. Like having those matchups is just going to be incredible with fan bases. I'm excited. I'm going to take so many shots at glory before the match on Sunday. If you're a media person at Legion, that's not true. I would never drink before shooting a match. I promise. But yeah, is there any matchups that you guys are looking forward to for Jägermeister?
I mean, we'll get an immediate rematch of the U.S. Open Cup earlier meeting between Hartford and Portland again. I mean, if you're going to go back to that group 4 of just being such a fun group to kind of be involved in, that's already a really fun rivalry. But honestly, one of the underrated ones that I'm happy to finally see make a return is going to be Louisville against Richmond. I mean, that was like an original matchup for when Louisville had joined the league. That was back in the old USL Pro days. So to see that matchup make a return is just something that's really exciting.
I just love any game where someone from Texas is playing. If you've listened to me on Protagonist on our Super Show, I'm not gonna lie. Give me some El Paso Locomotive in Texoma. Looking forward to that. But we've got a lot of good teams and a lot of good soccer, so it's great that they're getting multiple opportunities across leagues, not across leagues, sorry, too much soccer on my head, but across divisions to play and get that exposure and experience. So very, very much looking forward to that.
There's a few places that I immediately jump to with this. I mean, Legion Chattanooga, obviously I'm a Legion fan, but Legion aren't going so high, and Chattanooga are so much better than we thought they would be, that I feel like it's going to be a sneaky, really fun match. Oakland Roots versus Spokane Velocity. Velocity were a lot of people's favorites to win the league, and the Roots have been on fire lately. That one should be a really, really fun win. The one that I have absolutely circled that I just cannot wait to watch it, FC Naples versus the Charleston Battery, where FC Naples, and we'll talk about them in a minute, they took their first loss, but it wasn't because they didn't play well. They are probably one of the top 2 teams in League One versus the Battery, who are one of the top 4 teams across the USL, Eastern and Western. It's going to be an absolute blast to see what that place looks like, because this one's going to be down in FC Naples, who continues to have a really good showing. And I got to be completely honest with you guys about FC Naples. In my head, I just assumed it was a retirement hometown, and the fact that there are as many young people there as there are has been really tripping me out, just to be honest.
They all moved in with grandma and grandpa after COVID, and that's what they're doing. I will also say a game that's probably not on anyone's radar. I don't think it's going to be like, ooh, this is the game to watch. But New Mexico United versus Union Omaha.
Oh, yeah.
That should be an interesting game because Union Omaha is coming off beating SAFC, who put out a pretty decent lineup in the Open Cup. So they're riding high with confidence. They're not going to be as intimidated by, a USL championship or a higher division. And it sounds like they took it to SAFC. So that should be a really good matchup, and one where if we're going to talk about maybe an upset, that could potentially be one because they've already done it once. Also,
this is a Portland Hearts of Pine pod, kinda. We are going there at the end of June, ? July, 1 of 2, where they are playing the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, and that one's going to be really fun. We are doing a live show. It's going to be an absolute blast, and I'm glad that Ryan is wearing his USL show kit, because we are currently working on the next USL show kit. It should be coming out within the next week or so. So hopefully you guys are excited to see it, because I certainly am excited to share it. So let's go over to the Super League. And Danielle, I want you to just kind of explain this to me of the Gainbridge move, where it looks like the Gainbridge is going to be the presenting sponsor of the USL Super League, and then the entire media plug, or the media drop. They named every popular female athlete you can imagine, and just say we're associated with them. And I couldn't really pick out like the big deal, I guess.
I am just getting some of the like high level overviews. I feel like I want to dig into this a little more because I didn't see a dollar amount like that was attached to it either. So I love, like, I want numbers. Tell me how much. And it could also be some sort of significant investment and partnership. But to name something and to have a significant company come alongside and say, we believe in you, we see your value and your growth and your potential, that's a significant partnership, and it continues to add to the credibility and the validity of the USL Super League, because I think there's a lot of people who haven't watched a game and don't understand this is Division One women's soccer. And let me tell you, we're pulling in top players from around the world with Colombians, and there are people from Croatia and the U.S. youth national team that are U.S. senior team bouncing, and so much amazingness is happening. And I really feel like right now it's low on everyone's radar. And this is just one of those things that lends credence that, one, women's soccer is also a good investment. Like, smart people are investing in it. It is not, ownership shouldn't be a hobby. And yes, you can be passionate about it and think it's cool, but it can also be done very professionally and with care, similar to the way the players take their skills and ability every time they step on the pitch. You want to win. You don't just want to go out there and have fun with friends. And so I think this is really important, and this is a big stride, not just for the league, but for women's sports in general. Because a lot of other leagues and teams and different things happen and are supported that way. But to have the financial support, and then also to financially support the players with some education and additional probably financial analysis and investment options, really is helpful, because most women don't make enough to retire on, and especially at a Division One level, across any Division One club level internationally, where you make your money is with your international contracts. And the fact that we've just had the first woman break $1 million for her contract this year, it shows just how far we still have to go. And this is one of those first steps. It's the first step towards leveling the playing field. And so I think that's really important. And that's what I'm taking from this. I think there's going to be a lot more where they're investing in different things, but that may also be similar to the Michelle King investment of, we want to invest and we want to grow women's soccer, but we're going to work on what that looks like and where the needs are, and sort of develop that, because needs this year may be different than needs next year.
Yeah, and it really goes a long way in just putting in more investment into the league, and just further legitimizing the league within the kind of national landscape, to get a title sponsor, to get a company like Gainbridge to come in, and someone who's been involved in other investments within sports. They've invested in NASCAR. They're investing heavily within Indiana athletics as well. And it's been hopefully it's going to be a move that just kind of raises the game for the USL Super League moving forward.
I can never say raise your game without just like internally face palming. It's like I can't. It's just a part of the vernacular. The biggest thing for me here is multi-year deal. That's what did it for me. And this is when I said, okay, things are trending in the right way. We don't have the access to the numbers of necessarily of attendance. We kind of get attendance numbers, but like, who knows how real it is? You know, we don't get the TV numbers. We don't see how much revenue is being pulled in. We don't see ad revenue, what Peacock is doing, right? We're not seeing any of that. But when USL presents this business pitch of, you want to invest in us, and to be able to present a product that has not completed a full calendar year yet. They have not done a full season. They have not made it to the playoffs. None of that has happened yet. Getting a business that's pretty big. I mean, Gainbridge is a like sizable financial group, right? They are a notable name. Getting them to sign off on being on TV, in the stadium, on the jerseys, on social medias, putting their name on everything with the with the Super League for not just a year, multi-year. That means the Super League, not only like the championship, has presented multi-year ideas. A, that's a very big deal. B, another group has bought into the multi-year plan. There are plans for multiple years. There are things on the way. There's been a lot of soccer, which is if we survive this first year, oh boy, are we going, right? We see it all the times, especially Danielle, you kind of mentioned taking those next step in women's soccer. We see it all the time in women's soccer. Think about the W League the first time. That did not last very long, right? The UWS, which I like a lot of the people that were with the UWS, but like they were struggling, right? They had a good idea and it's kind of petering out a bit. WPSL looks like they're making real deal waves right now, but it also feels like they're just trying to get the first year and see what happens. The Super League has presented multiple years of ideas. They have planned down the road enough to get somebody to say, we'll sign off on that. To me, that feels huge. To me, that feels like there's solidity. And where we have stability now in the Super League, right? That's what we want to see is just stability, because what's not going to grow women's soccer is another women's soccer league dying. That's not going to grow the game.
I'm going to share some stuff here that the other leagues didn't survive because you had misogynistic owners who were committing issues that violate most company HR policies of sexual harassment, sexual assault. When you view a team as your toy and plaything and they're just there to stroke your ego, nothing's going to survive.
No.
So I want to establish that league didn't survive because you had terrible ownership that didn't have a plan and just wanted a plaything. So there's a difference. The quality has been there since the early 90s. We as a country just said we are not going to care about you enough and we are not going to invest in you. And the fact that women's soccer is where it is without the support that the men's programs have had. So if you can imagine women's soccer getting the support that MLS has from US Soccer with the tens of millions of dollars, we would be having a very different conversation today. It also took MLS 25 years to grow to where they are. And USL Championship is still in the growing phases. And I think the USL Super League is coming out with a stronger plan, stronger stadiums, ownership group, clubs. I'm seeing that they're taking that infrastructure and they are moving leagues ahead of where some of these other groups are. I mean, the Super League is pulling in more attendance, even just on an eye view, than some USL Championship and probably most USL 1. So I know people are probably going to throw some comments and stuff, but if you look, even just take an eye test, there are games where I'll watch on TV that are USL Championship and you're just like, okay, empty stadium. Now we have many, many good clubs who have cultivated great communities over the years, but we can't build anything based on attendance because no one had attendance in their first 6 months of play. Yeah. And I attended an MLS match in like the first few years. And it was like our A-League team in Rochester had more people than the MLS team. So I just want to throw that out so that we can have that common language and understanding of this is because they have good business sense in the USL Championship. And if you look at even some of their partners that the teams have, they have national and international brands that are high level, that they're doing a lot of the right things. And this is just another demonstration of that. I also want to say the Deloitte study just came out where interest and investment in women's soccer has grown like 200% by several $1 billion, and it's estimated to grow several more $1 billion in 2025 and 2026. So this is just good business sense, and it's viable. So I just wanted to kind of like get us all at the same, because I also, as a woman, I'm sick of hearing these things haven't survived and we just need it to survive. And it's like, no, they're thriving. USL Super League is thriving, and I'm very impressed with them. So maybe I should have saved all of this for the end when I was allowed to have my like moment, but you're getting it now.
Hey, we'll take it whenever we can. That's why we bring you on. Because first off, you're intelligent, obviously, and like there's your as much I follow and I watch every week, but the main place I do get a lot of my information is the Super Show. Like I watch it, but like I learn from you guys, and that's why we want to talk. One thing that I also kind of want to just throw out there, you mentioned the attendance side of things. I have seen the where is everybody? Like what about attendance? What's going on here? And you see the Cotton Bowl. I mean, first off, the Cotton Bowl is huge. The fact that they have as good of an atmosphere as they do, with it being huge, crazy. But I'll also throw this out there. People want to compare what they see with the Barcelonas, the Chelseas, sometimes the big women's teams. And I want you to look at the other side of that table. Go to the Barclays Super League and Super League, and see what's going on down there towards the bottom. They're playing in non-league stadiums, right? They're not pulling in that many people because in the end, a lot of people don't give women's soccer a chance. And I'm just going to say it because I see our analytics. People don't watch the Super League content because they haven't given it a chance. I promise you, if you watch the Super League, you're going to love it. Like, you just have to give it a chance. Does it look different than the men's game? Honestly, not as much as you think. The idea that it looks vastly different is decades old. Give it a chance today. You're going to be surprised. It's great.
So I have lovingly dubbed Amina Ekic for Spokane as our little Kevin De Bruyne, because she drops passes on a dime.
Well, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because let's get into our tactics show this week, which is about Ekic, believe it or not. So let's get into that. The Zephyr kicked off the scoring in a really interesting way versus Lexington. Circled on your screen is Sydney Cummings, who is acting as a pinner or a blocker for the Lexington goalkeeper. Her entire job is to make sure that the goalkeeper cannot cleanly collect the ball. But what they actually do here is have Cummings drop off, creating contrary motion where Cummings is going to the top of the 6-yard box while 3 players attack the top of it the other way. What this does is it creates a mismatch where we have 2 players attacking this ball. Meanwhile, there's only 1 Lexington defender to try to get there. This ball heads over and just kind of trickles over the line, and it's 1-0 for the Zephyr. Stuff like this is how the Zephyr have been able to claw their way back in to the USL Super League playoff chase. And I mean, she has been, it was kind of about Sydney Cummings and like kind of just dropping off, making stuff happen. But Ekic has been awesome. If people at the Super League, please let me have another MVP vote for this half, because Ekic is getting it right now.
Hey, I want an MVP vote. How do I get MVP votes?
Lisa, please. But like Ekic is the best player in the league right now, and Spokane are the first team in the Super League that are really utilizing set pieces. They are creating so much chaos. Now, there have been a lot of goals via set piece, but they're the first ones that have really put time that I can see into really making a difference on the set piece. Ekic is the biggest part of that. the way she can just put in a curling ball, just this low-driven curling ball anywhere she wants. She does it in the run of play. You mentioned that. And some people, and I always feels like this becomes an anti-Lexington pod. I promise it's not. I'm sorry, Lexington. But like, it was Lexington. Yes. but Lexington wasn't playing too bad. They defended that decently. Like, Lexington legitimately defended that well. It's just a nice, good driven cross, a good header. And that's a lot of the reason why we are seeing Spokane go up and up and up and up and up. Where we had Tampa Bay, we have Fort Lauderdale, and we have Spokane battling it out for this final playoff spot. And it's close. Like, we are all jumbled up right now. And it's fun. This is just so much fun to follow along with.
Yeah, I mean, between Tampa Bay in third right now and Spokane down in sixth, that's a 5-point gap between that, with at least games in hands for Fort Lauderdale as well. So it's going to be a very exciting finish to this spring half of the year for those. But basically, the two final playoff spots, Carolina and Dallas, are doing very well currently in the top two portions of the league. Carolina with 5 wins in a row right now.
This is an exciting playoff race, and I love the parity in the league for most of the teams. And even I think DC United is going to play spoiler to someone's run for the table because every point matters, and I feel like they're going to steal a few points, whether it's through a tie or beating someone. So I think Spokane's really hitting their stride and coming together and building that chemistry at just the right time. And they added a few players over the break that I think just solidified everything on the team. And I think Ekich is now feeling confident where she's just hitting everything. So it's just good soccer to watch. It's good tactics. It's good athleticism. It's good individual skill as well. So the technique, I mean, you're seeing people meg people, you're seeing people cut around everybody. And the leaderboard is not what it was at the break. And that was one of the things I said on the Super Show. I said, this is not going to end where it started. And Brooklyn was at the top. They were number 1, and they've now fallen to number 5. So out of that playoff contention. So I think things are heating up, and this is the right time to become a Super League fan.
I think that on the USL show, we started hitting the panic button on Brooklyn around the 3rd week of the spring schedule, where we were like, something's off here. Something's really off. And last week we talked about, they fired their coach just last week, where Danielle, I don't know how you feel. And Ryan, I don't know how you feel, but Brooklyn's not in this playoff race for me anymore. Until they can show me that they can win. They get a 1-1 draw versus Brooklyn, versus Lexington. By the way, if you did not watch that match, when Brooklyn scored, that atmosphere was nuts. That place was like going insane. Awesome to see. But until Brooklyn can show me 3 points, a draw versus Lexington is not enough for me to say maybe they're clawing their way back. Like, they were doing decent stuff. They were going up and down the wings. They were doing what they've been doing all year long, but they are just nothing in the middle right now. And Brooklyn's not even a part of this race to me anymore. I don't know how you guys feel.
One of my concerns was at the any team that loses a coach and gets a new coach, whether it's like internal or just interim, half the time they've had like 1 day or 2 days with the team. You usually have the little new coach bump. Like, hey, I'm excited. I'm motivated. We're going to play freely. They did not have that. And instead they tied Lexington 1-1. And so to me, that really concerned me that maybe Jessica Silva wasn't a big part of it. My other concern was what was the investment from Brooklyn FC in the break. I mean, other teams were making money moves, and I was just concerned that Brooklyn just kind of skated through. I think they got 2 new players, but I think that was after the season started, for the second half of the season, and it was almost a little too late. So I am concerned that there may be more to this than just Jess Silva, but I also think she got you to the top of the table for the first half of the season. And while this is your expansion year, like, figure it out, let it ride for 5 more games, like, reward her for what she did with nothing, um, and getting here and doing all of that. So I have mixed feelings. I understand why, but I also want, I was like, just let it ride. Like, it's too late in the season. Like, you're already at this point. And especially if they don't bounce back, then it'll be like, oh yeah, there was no reason. So I do hope someone else picks her up. So I hope maybe Jacksonville. No, they just already hired their new coach. So maybe there's another team in the wings, and they'll hire her.
This is an interesting question in the chat. Is Ekic the Bamadi of the Super League? That's a fun one.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't watch Barcelona. And I was at the final for the Women's World Cup and couldn't read anyone's back. But to me, it was De Bruyne, because not necessarily her individual footwork on the ball, more for her long distance passing and crossing the field and crosses in. Sorry, I watched Prime De Bruyne, and that was sort of my point of reference. But
Yeah,
I mean, she could. I just think Bonmati has a little bit more like of the individual foot skills, although we just may not see. We need a few more cameras to see Ekic's footwork.
I want to hit a little bit of Super League in our open floor because we do need to hit the other leagues, believe it or not. Although I'm having an absolute blast in the Super League. But let's go over to League One really fast, where we have one team remaining as you get to hear the wonderful, beautiful voice of Sir.
Undefeated team in USL League One because of their excellent understanding and their excellent structure. You see the way they line up in a 4-1-4-1 press here, constantly sticking to their lines and making sure that Naples can't access a forward in the gap. As soon as Knoxville recovers, they're thinking about how they can find and replace one another with their off-ball movement. You see Mark Doyle possess initially until Stuart Ritchie finds the ball at left back. Those two essentially trade places. Ritchie becomes the winger, reforming what's an attacking front three and remaining there as Knoxville changes into the counter-pressing stage. You're still seeing a midfielder step up. You're still seeing that 4-man high midfield play its part. But overall, there's a sense of interchange. These are the principles that Ian Fuller has instilled and that make this team so good.
And look, this is a good Naples team, and we talked about it. Knoxville had to go to Rocky Mountain High. They had to go out to Colorado Springs. They fought diligently. It went to full extra time. It went to full time, I do believe. And then they have to go south down to Naples, where, again, it's no longer a retirement home. A lot of young people there, apparently. And Naples has been awesome, just awesome. And One Knox was better. Defensively, they still feel like a McKeever team. They still have that defensive solidity. But what they've been able to do attacking wise with, as we mentioned last week, dropping a defender, adding an attacker, Fuller's made it so much more free flowing. And it's been fun to see. And I do feel like we saw the two best teams in the league go at it.
Yeah, and that having that victory that they had over Naples, I will say I was at least skeptical of One Knoxville and how it would be for the travel, going out from Colorado Springs in the midweek to turning it around to go to Florida on the weekend. It is no easy feat, and this Naples team looks like they were one of the best teams in the league. And in the match that we saw, they played like Hey, they certainly were, but to have Knoxville come into this game, get the 1-0 victory on the road, to go atop my ELO ratings, as I may add as well, it sets them up well for kind of these next few matches within the league. And honestly, I would not be shocked if Knoxville can get a result at home against Tulsa in the Cup this weekend as well.
Yeah. Ian and Danielle, we got good to kind of move on from this one. Good. Okay. And I'm sorry, One Knox, we will talk a lot about you. We have talked a lot about you. We talked a lot about you last week. If you missed that, check out that episode. The best match of the year? Question mark. 4-4, it ends a draw after 90 minutes plus 9 with Richmond Kickers versus Westchester. It started off 2 minutes in, Darwin Espinal gets a goal. Noah Powder, assisted by his brother, by the way. And in the 8th minute, we get a goal. Richmond makes it 2-1 with Espinal. And hey, Espinal is really good. I can't believe it took us this long to get him on a USL League One or championship team. Some tells me he won't be in League One for very long. But you know what? Oh, sorry. This is the one where Noah Powder assists Sammy Powder. Now it's 2-2 as Sammy Powder makes it 2-2 in the 53rd. Then Joshua Kirkland in the 63, Chandler O'Dwyer, he assists that one. Then it is a Connor McGlynn goal. Powder, he had a heck of a game. 93rd. That has to be it. It has to be 3-3. Wrong. In the 90 minutes plus 7, Obregon scores a goal. That has to be it. There were only 6 minutes given in extra time, and that was scored at the 7th. That had to be it. No. Au contraire, because Joshua Kirkland, as the broadcast said, he did it again. 90th plus 9, game tying. Just insanity. It's the best match of the year. If we get a better match than that with the amount of drama, 2 late extra time goals, 3 goals after the 80th minute to tie the game, I don't know. This feels like the best match to me since the 5-5 draw of Greenville versus Tormenta. Like, it was that level of incredible.
Yeah, and it was 2023 to find the last time we had a 4-4 result within the league. That was 2 separate matches. That was a Tormenta Chattanooga 4-4, and that was also a Madison Fuego 4-4 as well. But, I mean, fortunately for this matchup, we won't have to wait long to see a rematch. Memorial Day weekend on May 25th, we'll actually have Westchester hosting Richmond again. But, yeah, this was just a phenomenal match, and I'm very thankful that I bet over 2.5 goals on this one because it hit within a half hour.
Easiest bet of all time, apparently. I mean, just seriously, I mean, Espinal has been a complete game changer for Richmond. Their attack is high flying. Espinal is a big part of that. He's been incredible out on the wings. Powder, both of them, Noah Powder especially, we kind of knew that he was going to be the guy for Westchester. He's been the guy kind of wherever he goes. He gives you that fullback winger flexibility that you need. He's been putting it all on display. But then you have Obregon, who can just do that for you. That's just who he is. Dude scores goals. Connor McGlynn, who had a little bit of a down year with Rhode Island, he bounces back, and he is back to his goal-scoring form. He's back to just being a game changer. But in the end, I mean, it's Kirkland who comes in 60 minutes in, who steals the show. And it was just an amazing match. This is legitimately one of those matches that you watch in full again, because you're not going to go a half without a goal. It starts off with a goal. A few minutes later, there's a goal. We go this entirely long time of roughly around 25 minutes without a goal, boring. And then we go to halftime, skip past that, 8 minutes into halftime, give me another goal. And we have to go another 30 boring minutes without another goal. Guess what? We get 3 in the span of 10 minutes. It was awesome. It was awesome. You just rewatch it. Just watch it. I have one more League One thing before we move on, and then I'll have an open floor. Chattanooga takes down Greenville, and Chattanooga's looked good. They've looked scrappy. They've been fun. Believe it or not, they have been fun. This is a team that we gave no hope to, and they're proving to us why we should have had hope. We're seeing Scott McKenzie has made a really gritty team who I said that they have 11 players that are grinders in hockey. If you took 11 grinders in hockey and put them on one team, you have Chattanooga Red Wolves. But the question I'm asking comes from Alex Ashton, League One updater, who could not be here tonight. Should we be worried about Greenville?
I think so. I mean, I had sounded the alarm on being worried about Greenville. I think about 3 weeks ago. I'm trying to recall what was the match that they had. I think it was that 3-1 defeat against Knoxville in the Open Cup, and then it was around the same time they had lost 4-0 to Spokane. But I mean, while this is still a Greenville team who has a 3-0 victory over Omaha on their resume, like 4 defeats in their last 5 games across all competitions is not a great look. And it's just been, it doesn't seem like it's been the kind of triumph team that we know of old. Perhaps maybe they'll find their form as they have Tormenta, Richmond, Alta, and Texoma as their next 4 games, that Richmond or that Tormenta game being in the Jägermeister Cup. But at the end of May, they have to travel to Charleston for an in-state matchup in their second Jägermeister Cup game. I think it really is kind of time to start hitting the panic button on Greenville.
For me, it kind of comes down to one thing, and our good friend John Morrissey said it in more concise words than I did on Blue Sky, which I said that, hey, this team looks pretty good. A lot of the systems look there. The process looks good. They're just not getting results. They're missing a little bit of a midfield grinder. Maybe, Chapa Herrera comes back and everything's better. John Morrissey, in all of his tactical glory, says in his Back Four article, which you should be subscribed to that, no Chapa, no party. That's all he said in a lot more concise words. It does feel like that's the case. Chapa Herrera is what makes this Greenville engine go, which is a wonderful thing to hear if you're Greenville, because he will be coming back. But if one player not being there completely derails everything about your team, that's not a good place to be. What happens 5 minutes or 5 games to go, and what if he rolls his ankle real bad and you're on the playoffs, on the line? Is your season just done? That's a conversation you have to have if you're Greenville.
Yeah, and if you're looking at it from, I guess, the playoff picture perspective, I mean, you get 8 teams who make it in for League One right now, but yeah, if the teams that are currently outside of the playoff picture, you're looking at Chattanooga, Westchester, Madison, Omaha, Portland Hearts of Pine, Texoma at the bottom of the league. But like, there are multiple teams in there right now who you don't expect them to be down at that part of the table for much longer, especially if you're looking at an Omaha team who has always been very slow to start their years, but then sometime in the middle of the year, always around July, they go on a tear and like go unbeaten for their final 12 games to end the regular season with the Players' Shield, as they seemingly always do.
So let's go ahead and let's go down to the championship really quickly, where again, John Morrissey has put together a wonderful tactics show about big winners of FC Tulsa.
Tulsa brilliantly combined pressure and fluidity this weekend in Las Vegas to get a statement win over their conference rivals. And it began with the shape of their 3-4-3, the way that they constantly funneled play towards their back line and allowed players like AB Sissoko to intervene, cut out those limited passing lanes, and then quickly spark counterattacks. I won't say that the Lights were the most structured team of all time, but the movement Tulsa brought on the counter, like you're seeing here with Taylor Calhera and Harvey St. Clair at right wing back opening space with forward runs, constantly made this team a threat. Here it allows Alex DeLu and Stefan Lukic to link up, resulting in a wonder goal and an ultimate 4-1 win.
Look, I don't want to act like, and John kind of mentions it, like I don't want to act like the Lights were what's turned us on this team, but FC Tulsa is a good team. They are a really good team. And on top of that, they come out and they sign Jamie Weber, who comes from South Africa, and by all accounts, as a right midfielder, he is solid. He is really, really good. And the number that I've seen throw out there, I have no confirmation on this, but I've seen a $500,000 number thrown out there, which I don't know. That feels like a strange reallocation of money from what you got from Goodrum. But also, they've been scoring goals. They get 4 goals. Obviously, Goodrum, they didn't need Goodrum that bad, right? They have been a big bright spot out in the West. They have been really fun to watch. They are much more competitive than I thought they'd be. I'll eat, I guess, scissor tail, not crow, but I will eat whatever it is. I think it's a scissor tail. And I thought they were going to be awful. I thought they were going to be 11 or 12 coming into the season because I just did not believe in the roster. I saw some players that I liked. I liked Batista. I liked Sissoko. I thought he was good. Rogers, we knew why he could be in League One, but we hadn't really seen that at the championship level. Lukic has been great, but can we believe in that? El Medkar looked like their big signing, but even then he was kind of falling out of favor at Loudoun. Turns out they know what they're doing because they have put together a really, really good team.
I mean, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think one of the things I've noticed with USL Championship is when you bring down a bunch of MLS players who may be big names or may have played significant places, sometimes they don't come in and play good cohesive team games, which championship is a grind and you need to do that. And so I think not enough emphasis is placed on the championship level of having good team chemistry and cohesion with just a good tactical plan and a deep bench that is significant. And I think we've seen a lot of teams. I think the year SAFC won the championship, I have been here in San Antonio every year. I would never have predicted that team to win. It was like I'm gonna call them a little ragtag group because there was one guy who had MLS background, but everyone they played together, they played for each other, they played for the team. And so I think there's a lot to that as well. And Las Vegas Lights always plays on vibes. Like they're a vibes team. So
yeah, I think with the Lights, really fast, Ryan, I know you're about to hop in there. I've seen it. It's happened. Nocerino out, that they have gone from Sanchez and they don't want Nocerino anymore. And I think a little bit of that comes from his stint at Miami, which is kind of fair, but also it was Miami last year. But I will be interested to see what they do. Anyway, go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, like from the Tulsa perspective on this is like you had mentioned it, Kaylor, like this is a team that isn't used to scoring a lot of goals. Like this is the first time since October 2023 that they scored 4 goals in a match, which is just an insane turnaround. In fact, like all of us with the USL show is like shockingly looking at the top of the Western Conference and seeing Monterrey Bay and Tulsa, 2 teams that we had picked in our bottom 4 of the conference in our season preview for the West this year. And now they're kind of proving us wrong where they are at the top of the table. So it's going to be a really interesting story to kind of follow with Tulsa. I guess the always concern that I have had with Las Vegas is, gosh, it is just such a frustrating team to like try and watch as a neutral. Like they've gotten results on the board. If you're looking at Las Vegas Lights, I mean, currently 6th in the Western Conference isn't terrible, but you've only seen a combined 12 goals from all of their games, and like half of them came from this one match. It's a frustrating team to really just try and get behind, and it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of move forward on the year. But I guess if you're looking at it from a neutral, and this is Las Vegas, bet under 2.5 goals for their games more often than not.
You watch Las Vegas Lights for the fun, and you never know what's going to happen. I feel like they usually get fined by the league for something outrageous every year. So watch them to see what's going to happen, how many yellow cards are going to accumulate. So yeah, that's your vibes team.
Vibes. Speaking of vibes, let's go to Mr. Worldwide Stadium, Pitbull Stadium down in Miami, where we just talked about Nocherino, his old team. Hey, the Miami FC just might be pretty good at soccer. They beat North Carolina 2-1, and I kind of mentioned this in our private chat last week as I was dying. Miami, as it took down San Antonio last week, and now North Carolina, if you actually watch their games instead of just kind of seeing what their results say, the process has been good. The actual product on the field has not been bad. Their processes are good. Their buildups are good. Everything is sustainable, is what's fun to me. These are not flash in the pan moments. They were getting bad results on good processes. Well, good processes are turning into good results. And I know some North Carolina fans and some San Antonio fans might have said, oh my God, we lost to the Miami FC at the Pitbull Stadium. But like, that can't happen. But this isn't last year's Miami FC team. This is a good squad, and they're showing it.
It's the first time since also, I mentioned it with Tulsa, since October 2023 that Miami FC has won back-to-back games in the league before, which if anyone had watched that team through last season and known how much that side had suffered, like this is an enormous improvement that we've seen, that they're currently sitting 7th in the league. I mean, they'll have Tampa Bay in in the next Jägermeister Cup game, and then I said one of those teams would not be in last of their conference when they played each other. How about neither of those teams being in last in their conference when they play each other?
Yeah. I just think that this Miami team has a lot that you like. Bonfigolo has been great. Like, he has been a real deal superstar for them. It's been really fun to see how he's turned into. Bill Hamid has been much better than I thought he would be. I've been pleasantly surprised. They've been using Bolu Akinyode as a center back and not a midfield presence, which not how I would want to use Bolu, but he's good. He can do that. Ricketts has been used in an interesting way where we're kind of used to him being this bombing wing back, but he's been kind of slotting in as that right-sided center back. They've been doing really interesting things. They've been playing where they allow their defense to stay structured and just go for the counterattack. And it works. I mean, Danielle, you mentioned San Antonio. That's how they won the league a couple years ago. Sit, go. Right? Like, they're going to absorb pressure, hit you faster than lightning. And they were so good at it. Now, they're not as extreme as that San Antonio team. If San Antonio got above 30% possession that year, it was a failed game, right? They are sitting more 40, 45%. But they're still going to sit back, bang, go. Julian puts into our chat, they think that Julian thinks that the Miami FC has been playing Pitbull music there with the wins recently. We talked about that preseason. It has to be Timber. They have to play Timber. It's the only option. Half their team are Timbers.
You have to play all of the songs. I love his new one with Dolly Parton, 9 to 5. Yes, because Dolly is the real deal, and she is our patron saint. It is worth it. Yeah, so I think you're only playing duets, and remakes. So that's the requirement for that stadium. And talk about a stadium with a name. Everyone had to have their name in it as part of this contract. But I also want to say about Bill Hamid, when they came and played in San Antonio, I had the privilege of like sitting square in line with the goal and just watching Bill Hamid stop shots, looking much more like his former self. And he is not the goalkeeper where you can just throw something on net and hopes and prayers. He You had to have skill, and you had to be smart about where you were using his momentum and putting him and placing him. And you really needed to be able to move the ball because he literally stopped some fantastic shots. But it's because of his skill, his knowledge, and experience. And so that's dangerous to go up against a goalkeeper with his background and experience. And I will say, Super League plug, his sister Jasmine Hamid plays for Fort Lauderdale.
Yes.
It is talk about she's probably more like Bon Mati with her skills and abilities, but also her crossing and her shots. So I can only imagine she had to grow up taking shots on Bill, which is what turned her into the fantastic forward that she is. And so I'm proud that both of them get to play in Florida and kind of be at least close to each other. And I think he came to a game or two to watch her play, and I loved seeing that familial support.
The Jasmine Hamid, by the way, I talk about this all the time. Her and Clay Holstad and Darwin Espinal might be the three best pure strikers of the ball that the league has to offer at those three levels. And I don't mean best strikers. I don't mean best finishers. I mean just pure, laces to ball, just putting it through, just pure striker of the ball. Jasmine Hamid might be better than both of them. I mean, if you just pound for pound, the way she connects with the ball is just gross. It's so good. But I want to stay in the Sunshine State really fast. And I want to talk about Tampa Bay, where Tampa Bay, they end up opening up Al Lang Stadium for the first time in over 200 days since the Hurricanes came through. And it was cool. Like, it was cool seeing everybody back there. Everybody was just, it was just fun to see. Now they play Louisville, and this is a big deal. Louisville had not won there in super long time. Ryan, you probably have that stat ready to go at some point, but it's been a long time since Louisville has won in Tampa Bay. It felt like this was going to be the opportunity where Tampa Bay goes up 1-0, and it's, Ollie Bassett, who's been a superstar for them. And then Louisville truly is inevitable. Taylor Davila gets kind of a deflection goal, but one of my favorite guys in the league, Sam Gleadle, he just kind of plays everywhere. I guess he's a striker today, and he makes it to one mystery compiler. But, it's all about opening up Al Lang. That's where I want to start with first, because the result is tertiary at this point.
Yeah, it's important. Sorry, Danielle, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It's important for Tampa Bay to have this long homestand. I think part of what had their early season struggles was the kind of just long trip they had on the road to open the year. But the fact that they basically have between now and May 17th are all home games from here on out, including a really exciting one hosting Orlando City in the Open Cup as well, I think it's going to do wonders to really help turn around a team who sacks their manager and is trying to get through kind of this interim period to just kind of, I guess, steady the ship, if you will, for their season.
I think it's also important to the community, the fans and the supporters who had to weather the hurricane and everything that they've lost. And so to be able to come back and see your friends and family, that I know the people that I've been going to see games with, and that you sit in the stadium and you're reminiscing. And so I think that's important. And I think this season, or at least maybe the first half of the season, may not be about wins and losses for Tampa Bay, but about bringing the community back together, rebuilding not just the physical stadium, but also the much larger fan base and supporting each other and helping each other out and in those connections. And so I think that's really important.
And I do want to throw it out there. It was posted on socials at one point, but there was a Matt Cox tifo up that said one of our own, and I cried again. Like I was mostly good, but I cried again. It hurts. It felt real then, I guess. But obviously Matt would have wanted to win, but also if you know Matt, win, lose, or draw, he was going to make a funny joke and come back next week. Like he was going to talk a little bit of trash. He was going to analyze it a little bit, talk to his friends a little bit more, and then just come back next week. And that's what Tampa Bay Rowdy fans are going to do too, because that's just kind of what he did. Everybody sort of followed suit. We'll be mad, we'll be happy, we'll see you next week. And it hurt seeing that tifo up, that two poll up, but also I know good and well is knowing Matt, knowing that he was being honored at a soccer match with his face on a tifo might be the best possible way that you could have honored him. So yeah, just wanted to throw that in there. And I hate to transition like this. That feels so mean. But I do have to ask the question about Tampa Bay. And Ryan, you mentioned the homestand, and that's coming up, and the long away legs that they've taken. But are the Rowdies the worst team in the league?
Remains to be seen with what Hartford kind of becomes, because I still have a lot of questions there. I know they got a win over Birmingham this past weekend, but I would say Tampa Bay is certainly the most underperforming team based off our preseason expectations in the league at the moment.
Okay. All right. Well, yes, and Birmingham is currently really, really bad via Ace the Kangaroo. That was a whole thing. It's fine. Everything's fine. But let's get into open floor. We're going to just try to roll through this really, really quick. I wanted to hit the Dallas Trinity match where they go 1-1 with Fort Lauderdale, which might be the worst outcome that you could have had for Fort Lauderdale. Here, obviously, a loss would have been worse, but when you're in this playoff race, you're running out of matches. Like, you needed a win. Dallas more than happy to take a point out of this. Obviously, you want to win, but you will happily take a point out of this match. What say you, Danielle?
Considering the fact that Dallas's little general in Lexi Missimo is out for the rest of the season, and you don't have that strong player in the center midfield for Dallas, and you're sort of reconfiguring everything, I'm okay with a tie, especially against a strong, talented Fort Lauderdale who's got some depth. I am okay with this. Do I love it and would rather see 3 points? Yes, but it still keeps my beloved Dallas Trinity in second place. So I'm not angry with it, and I think they're both extremely talented teams with skillful, knowledgeable players, and so I think it really that's a fair score for both of them.
All right. How about I'll go over to League One, and I want to talk about AV Alta, who has been hotter than the sun, but the velocity comes in fast, and they end up getting a 2-1 win, quick 2 goals. But hey, listen, AV Alta, that Sam keeps on a rockin'. What were just some kind of quick thoughts about this one, if we have any?
I'm going to be very interested on the next 4 games that AV Alta have on their schedule, because they actually have 2 back-to-back Jägermeister Cup matches on the road against Sacramento and Las Vegas. Then they host Naples, and then they have a really exciting away trip to FC Dallas in the Open Cup as well. It really feels like we're going to discover a lot of what this AV Ultra team is going to be truly about. I think some of the games they had early in the season were either results you would mostly expect them to get, or they just kind of had the momentum of playing at home. But when we're going to see them up against some of the USL Championship teams, MLS within FC Dallas and in FC Naples as well, I think we're going to discover really where this AV Ultra team lies on their season.
Yeah, Spokane looked like Spokane, like what we thought they would look like. But AV Altas continues to show fight. They got the win that we talked about a few weeks ago, and it felt like everything was just kind of fixed. I said it 2 weeks ago, maybe. I don't remember when it was. Miguel Pajaro, if you are not watching Miguel Pajaro, please watch him. He might be the best young center back across both leagues. Like, he is so good. Just watch him. Finally, championship thoughts. Phoenix Rising versus Sacramento Republic. I'm fully convinced that whoever is winning in a Phoenix Rising match, they are not going to win by the end of it. No team can hold a lead when Phoenix Rising is on the pitch. And that's not necessarily because Phoenix Rising always comes back. They will blow it as well. All matches are destined to end in a draw, but it sure is entertaining.
I mean, for all of the games that they've had this year, bar their first one against Tulsa, it has been both teams to score if you're looking at kind of a wagering angle. It does feel like at some point for Phoenix, they're going to get it figured out eventually. But yeah, they've been on the unfortunate, unlucky side of a lot of these results. But they did advance in the Open Cup to set up a match against Houston in the next round. So they may be very well a cup team this year.
Well, let's head to predictions, unless we have any final open floor thoughts. No, Danielle, you already used your big open floor thought earlier. Okay, let's predictions. Spokane Zephyr, who have been super hot as of recently, ignored their 3-0 loss to Carolina. That doesn't fit my agenda. But the only team that has been hotter than them, of course, is the Sun, where the Sun, their last loss, was the Spokane Zephyr. Does Spokane firmly cement themselves into this title race, or can the Sun hold them off and solidify their spot? Danielle.
So on the Super Show, we were tied. I went with Tampa Bay Sun, and everyone else went Spokane. I think this is one that could go either way. I really like what Natasha Flint is doing up top for Tampa Bay Sun. She is just a physical, strong player who is just not afraid to take a risk and take a shot, and she just finds good position, as well as Cecily Flo Nielsen. I think they're two talented players on the Tampa Bay Sun who have it all, and they're also kind of in their zone. So I'm going with Sun. But yeah, this should be a very well-matched game.
Ryan?
I am going to back Tampa Bay Sun to make it 4 wins in a row.
I don't love this. Okay, so Danielle, you don't. I say this every week just in case someone's a first-time listener. I refuse to pick draws. I don't do it. I refuse to do it, which is why I'm struggling to pick a winner from this one. I think I'm going to go with the Zephyr. I know they lost 3-0 to Carolina, but Carolina is easily the best team in the league. I think when you look at how these teams match up, when you look at the solidity in the back line from Tampa Bay, from Spokane, I don't know if they're going to give up the late mistake that Tampa Bay has been winning off of. I think that they're going to be a lot more solid. I think set pieces, which Tampa Bay has been susceptible to, that we talked about earlier today, they are going to have the Zephyr going to have the advantage. It might be just enough to get the win, although I think it's going to be a draw. Next, up, we're going to have a lot of Jägermeister. We are here to take shots at glory, where we're going to have Naples versus Charleston is going to be in the not a retirement home. Danielle, who do you think you got?
Let's go with Naples.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Ryan.
One, I love a chaos pick, and two,
Yeah.
I love me some old people. So let's go.
Love it, Ryan.
I have Charleston kind of showing their experience as a club against the expansion side for Naples. So I have the Battery winning this one.
Now, I didn't ask this before. This does go to PKs. Do we get a PK call? Like, can we do that?
We can. I think this will end in 90, though.
I'm going to do Charleston and PKs. I think that this will end a tie, but I'm going to do Charleston and PKs.
You're all over some ties today.
Apparently, yeah. I just am not willing to make decisions today, apparently. Next up, you mentioned them before, and this was your sleeper pick or the sleeper match, Danielle. New Mexico versus Omaha.
I'm going with New Mexico because if I don't, my friends in Albuquerque will kill me.
Yeah, fair. Ryan?
New Mexico, but on penalties.
Oh, lovely. I'm going to take New Mexico. Omaha doesn't feel like they fully figured it out for me yet. I enjoy what I am seeing out of New Mexico. Although I am concerned that if Dom Casciato decides to just kind of sit back and be super defensive, that they're going to be able to get a result. I also don't think that's in the nature of the sport, where the tiebreaker in the playoff structure is goals scored, not goal differential. It is goals scored. And teams have to take that into consideration. You can't just 0-0 it and expect to make it through. So that should be an interesting wrinkle to see if Union Omaha goes for it. Finally, we're going to have Birmingham versus Chattanooga Red Wolves, where the Red Wolves have been red hot as the wolf that they are. But Birmingham Legion cannot see spark from Flint right now. And we are going to see if Chattanooga can continue their cup streak and start a new cup run, or can Birmingham make right by their early exit? What say you, Danielle?
I really like Birmingham's logo, so Birmingham.
Yeah, that's completely fair. Both pretty generic, but I will happily take that. Ryan?
Sorry, Kayla, I'm going to say Chattanooga on penalties.
Woof. I really don't know.
Decide. We're forcing you to decide.
I know. It's not great. I'm going to take Birmingham purely because I'm a homer. Everything else tells me that Chattanooga should win this. Just to be honest. Hey Danielle, there's a question for you in the chat. Where can they find the Super Show on socials?
So we are a podcast for now, until Dan Vaughn trusts me enough to be allowed to record, and maybe today I showed that I can behave myself. I even did my hair today. I look human. We're on, I think, Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So we're mostly there, but on socials,
it's the protagonist -W, right?
So on Blue Sky, because we firmly believe in Blue Sky, it's protagonist W. And you can find us there, or protagonist soccer. We all enter that conversation as well. So yeah, check us out on Protagonist. We make a lot of vibes checks and picks.
Love it. Let's see, Ryan, when is your next article coming out, by the way?
That should be at least the Jägermeister kind of first matches should be out and around on Friday.
Wonderful. All right. Any kind of final like soccer thoughts on the night?
I am in soccer heaven right now. We have all the leagues starting, all the games playing. So life is good. That's my thought. I'm living the good life.
W League and League Two rosters are just a continuous drip right now, and I'm feasting. And I'm very excited for the League Two and W League seasons to start. Any soccer thoughts from you, Ryan? All right. Well, final thoughts for the night are, and we'll kind of let you see how this goes, Danielle. So you'll go after Ryan. What's been on the TV? Anything fun, or just kind of final thoughts, Ryan?
Yeah, so at least debuting today, Andor season 2 on Disney Plus. Really excited to kind of dive back into what's been my favorite Star Wars, I guess, project over the past couple years. And if you enjoyed Andor season 1, if you enjoyed Rogue One, it's in that kind of same vein. So excited to check it out.
Awesome, Danielle.
So I'm going to share an audiobook that I've been listening to that is
Yes.
so good. So it's called Project Hail Mary, and it's not my normal genre, but it's a little bit of like that Martian with Matt Damon-esque, where we've got a guy in outer space, and he's the only one who survived, and he's got to save Earth. What's going to happen? But I love it because the narrator is just so good. He does like men's voices, women's voices, other countries. Phenomenal. So I am loving that audiobook right now.
Very good. We haven't, I think you might be our first audiobook recommendation. What was it?
It's called Project Hail Mary.
Project Hail Mary. Very intrigued. Let's see. For us, I teach a lot of things, but one of the things I teach is a music appreciation class. And we are getting to the part where we are talking about John Cage, where I want to open this up. If you're made to this part, you're a real one. So go ahead, leave stuff in the comments because I want to know this is a crazy question. What is music? Because whenever we get to this section, we say, what is music? And some people, like my grandfather, he would listen to my music, and he's like, that's not music. Let me show you real music. And he would go to channel 4 on the XM radio, which was the 40s channel, if you don't know. And he's like, that's real music. And so we had this conversation. We talked about John Cage and 433, the very famous piece by him, which is 4 minutes and 33 seconds of silence. A guy sits at a piano, opens up the thing to play the keys, and he closes it, and he does that a few times, and the rest of it is pure silence. And is that music? So I'm going to ask the people of the chat or like later comments, is that music? Because half of them said yes, because anything can be music. The other one said there's no sound being made by the guy. All the sound is from everybody else, therefore not music. So that's where I am today.
Deep thoughts for the day.
Deep thoughts for the day. That's what we do. That's what we do here, apparently. Well, listen, thank you all so much for watching and listening. Danielle, where can they find you on the socials?
You can find me at Toes Wiggle on all of the socials. So like my toes wiggle. And maybe one day I will share the story of how I came up with that.
Awesome. Follow Danielle on all the socials. Thank you so much for hopping on. It was super late notice. Everybody say thank you to Danielle because it was crazy last second notice. We really appreciate you.
Thank you.
So yeah, thank you so much. And thank you to all you people who listened. And for the first and final time tonight,
thank you for watching another episode of the USL Show. The USL Show is now proudly part of the Protagonist podcast family. Please go to protagonistsoccer.com to check out more work. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see everyone again next time.